No forced entry, no robbery, no sex attack on a 29-year-old social studies teacher. The family dog never even barked once. Tonight, what could be the motive for murder of a 29-year-old social studies teacher there in her own home? What really happened to Simonette? We are taking your calls, but first, let's go straight out to Brett Larson, afternoon anchor, joining us. Brett, what do we know?
Well, Nancy, what we know is this is really tragic. This is beautiful young woman, not even 30 years old, a school teacher, a volunteer. She did volunteer work with the ASPCA, found middle of the day by her husband, dead inside their duplex condo. She was stabbed over a dozen times in a pool of blood. The house was ransacked. But here's where it gets interesting. The house is ransacked, but there's no signs of forced entry. Nothing was taken. The dogs locked up in a room, and neighbors say not only did they not hear anything, no struggle, no fight, they didn't hear the dogs barking. And I'm a dog owner. If I put my dog in the bathroom and try and eat dinner, he's going to bark at me. So why these dogs were so quiet is questionable. And what's even more sad is her and her husband just survived a drive-by shooting. She just posted something a couple weeks ago about surviving this drive-by shooting. So this young high school teacher found dead by her husband. Police say no suspects. And you know, they're in a nice neighborhood. They live near a manicured golf course, and the neighbors are just shocked that something this tragic happened right near them.
Very quickly, joining me right now is renowned Dr. Henry Lee. He's chaired professor of forensic science, University of New Haven. Dr. Lee, we're saying she's stabbed between 10 and 20 times. A lot of people may say, well, why don't you know if it's 10 or is it 20? That's a big difference. But there are reasons why sometimes when you initially look at a body, you don't know if it's been stabbed 10 or 20 times. Explain.
Yeah, you're correct. They have to do a complete autopsy to determine the number of the stabbing wound, and of course can determine the type of knife, the type of weapon, the direction of the stabbing, and the possible position of the suspect. 10 to 20 times usually represent that's called frenzy killing. And usually, as you said, there are a couple possibilities, and just throwing another possibility could be somebody highly on drug, in an automatic fashion, with 10 to 20 times stabbing on the neck area. So, of course, we don't know whether or not carotid artery was cut or not. If that's in fact, we should see a lot of so-called arterial gushing. The report say pool of blood. What does it mean? Of course, we want to see whether or not vertical low-velocity dripping, and what's the distribution of the blood stain pattern, whether or not the victim walked into a home invasion or burglary case, because that's in the entry area. Or is she just walk into the apartment? Also, as a investigator, definite. If this is a high-end neighborhood, they probably have a video camera, CCTV, whether or not have alarm system, all those they have to check. Now, this case, clearly have a lot of issue and indication. Forensic evidence can be very important.